Okay, hello and welcome to class training. I've just realized I was on mute that whole time. Okay, anyway. Before we begin today, I'll take a moment to acknowledge the original custodians of land around Australia and its collection of surrounding islands. Today, I'd like to pay special respects to the Aboriginal Land Council of Tasmania, who just created a new campaign called Giving Back Land, which invites private owners to return land to Pakana ownership and management through a clear, structured process. Apparently, they became aware that there are people out there who are willing to give back land, but didn't have a structured process for it. So now when people apparently make those offers, there is one. So that sounds like a great project. I'll also pay respects to any mob with us here today. I will pay respects to elders, whether they be past, present, or emerging, and I'll recognise that those lands were never ceded and that sovereignty was never extinguished. Okay, a little bit of housekeeping. This software doesn't let you unmute yourself, so if you do have a question, feel free to submit it in the questions section of your control panel. I've popped a couple of guides into the chat section of the control panel, so hopefully you can see that. The session's being recorded. I'll have it online, hopefully by the end of the day, definitely by the end of the week. Okay, welcome to class training. Today we're talking about community projects or services for the community. Now there is some terminology there. Some people just use terms like CLE or CE, which is fine. Just thought I should let you know that the terminology we use at CLCs Australia is community projects. Okay, anyway, my name's Samuel Martin. I've been on the ICT team for about the past, it's almost 3 years now, and been doing these training sessions for about two and a half years, something like that. Okay. Here's an overview of our session today. We'll go through things like the differences between services to individuals and services to the community, which I'm sure we all already know, but I'll start with some of the more theoretical kinds of concepts like projects and project services, things like that. Then we'll dive over to class and have a look at how it all actually works. Now, a lot of the training that we do here, a lot of the class training that we do is we kind of start right at the beginning and go through all of the basics. But if you would like more in-depth training, please feel free to ask us for that. We even just had a week where we travelled to a centre to do training, so we can do that. We can do online sessions. Anyway, let's get going. All right, so this is from the Data Consistency Guide. So community projects, also called services to the community, bring together all the work that centres do with communities or with groups of people that cannot be defined as one-on-one service to an individual. I'm sure you know what I mean when I'm talking about community projects, so I might move on already. Okay, so project types versus project service types. Okay, so the project types are not in the DSM, whereas the Data Standards Manual, whereas the project service types are. So the project service types, they're defined by the AGD, and I'll go into more of that pretty shortly. But basically, the project types are not mandated by any level of government, really. So we can use those however we like, and we'll see that in just a minute. These are the project service types, CE, CLE, law and legal service reform and stakeholder engagement. I'm going to come back to that again pretty quickly. Projects versus project services. That's probably about enough for the theory. Let's have a look at class. Okay. So this is class. I just wanted to show you a couple of things. I don't know how many people know this stuff, but when I do show people, they kind of like to see some of this stuff and don't seem to know about it. So I might just go over it quickly. If you have a look in the top right-hand corner here, you've got this little icon, which is a question mark and a circle. That's our help button. If I click on that, that's going to open the class documentation. So we've got some pretty extensive documentation on class. I'll click there. I've already got it open for you. I'll click here and that's it. I've already opened it to the documentation on services for the community, aka community projects. couple of different bits of terminology there. Anyway, if I scroll down, we've got this navigation menu in the left, that's the right-hand side, and we're in the user manual and then down to services for the community. Now, the first thing you see is this graphic, which is the one that everyone talks about and the one that everyone likes. This kind of explains it pretty well. So you've got your project, which is this, it's a bucket, or whatever we call it, a bucket. And inside the bucket go the services, or the project services. There's service 1, service 2, and however many you like inside the project. So this is a basic structure of how the community projects works. You don't actually have to use this, but I'm going to show kind of the way that most people use it, which seems to work pretty well. So this is where you find the documentation for it if you are looking for it. Just a little bit more theory, actually. I'd like to show you the data consistency guide, which I mentioned earlier. So if you come to our website, which is just clcs.org.au, and then in this navigation menu, under resources, you have the data consistency guide. Now that's a companion piece to the data standards manual, which I'm going to show you in a second. And inside the data consistency guide, we've got community projects here. So there's all this information about community projects. This bit probably being one of the more interesting bits. So a lot of people say that the work that they do doesn't fall neatly into the service types for projects. And these are the service types here, the ones that are set out in the data standards manual. CLE, CE, and these other two. Now, what we're saying is you just have to make a call depending on the best fit. Yeah, so it's just as long as you're capturing the work. If you would like help figuring out which project service type to select, we'd be more than happy to help you with that. I'll show you how to get help from the class help desk at the end of the session. Now, excuse that, I did have the data standards manual open this morning and I noticed something, so I might just flick across to that and just show you just quickly. Now, this is the data standards manual and I've got it open to problem types. So I was looking at this and I scrolled down and noticed at the bottom, you've got these ones and it says right in there that these are for services to the community. So I'm pretty sure the project, the problem type will be a required field when you're putting your community projects into class. So these are the ones that are set out by the data standards manual. So there's those in there with obviously that one being the one to use if it's not either that or that. Obviously, this is not expensive at all. You've got 3 options. If you do want other problem types, again, please feel free to open a discussion with CLCs Australia. We're more than happy to help you do that. Okay, I'm going to flick back to my slide deck. All right, so projects versus project services. We're actually going to start looking at class now. So where to find your projects, again, starting really at the start. You go to community and then search projects. So this is class there. So you go to community in the bottom left and then search projects. And that's where you'll find your projects. So there's projects in here. So this is how a lot of people set them up. They'll set them up with the year and then the name of the project that they're working on. And they'll all be listed in here. So if you want to find them, you can search through things like titles you could put in something like CLE, that'll cut out all the ones that have nothing to do with CLE. You might want engagement or something. I don't know if that's gonna, yes, it does. So if you're looking for just the stakeholder engagement ones, you could bring up those. You could use whatever you like. If you're searching for those, you could search in the project type, you could search in status, you can search in any of those columns. Okay, that's how you find your projects. Now, how you create a project, you click new. So we've clicked on search projects, now click new. Okay, so now we're going to create a project. All right, so project ID is going to be auto-generated. You don't need to worry about that, or at least I wouldn't think you would. The title is going to be the first thing you want. Obviously, that's required. So as I was saying, a lot of people do something like maybe the financial year, which is not going to be that. It's going to be that. and then put in something like, this is the CLE I do at this place. And I do a session there once a month. So I'll create a project and then I'll put a new project service inside the project each month. Okay, so now the project status could be, it's commenced, it might be deferred, you'll have different options in here. So at the end of the financial year, you could come through and select that as completed. Obviously you wouldn't do that now, I'm just gonna leave that blank, doesn't really matter. Ignore that, that's irrelevant to you. The start date you could modify if you wanted to. You could say this started on the first, just pretend that's the first of the 7th, 2022, and then your close date. You could put the close date in if you want, 30th of July, 2023. Your funding categories, you would know better than me about which funding categories to select, so just select which one is required. Now your project type. This is what we were talking about before, so kind of just selecting which is most appropriate, but because the project type is not in the data standards manual, you can pretty much make up whatever you want. So if you would like to see how to do that, send through a message to the help desk and I'll show you how to do that. Okay, now you've just got the rest of your fields, fill them in however you like. Now, I will bring your attention to this field assigned to, I'll come back to that in a little bit. Created by is going to be required, so I'll fill that in really quick. There we go. You can add notes, links to other projects if you want. Oh, there's project notes. Okay, going back up to the top, you can add in the description and an evaluation if you like. Okay, once you've done that, you're going to click save or save and close, save and new if you're going to do a bunch of them. Required fields, that might help. Bear with me. Okay, I'll click save. Okay, so that's how you create a project. Not super difficult, pretty basic. So as I was saying, you can create your project, name it whatever you like, really. And then once you've created that, you can now create services inside that. I'm just going to flick back to my slide deck before I get ahead of myself, creating projects. So project services, where to find them and create them. And I'll also get into the my projects and services and things like that. Okay, so we've created a project. So now I can just click across to services. So this is where our project services will be listed, and we've just created this project, so there aren't any. So to create one, I'll just click new. Okay, so the project service type. So as I was saying, it can only be, there's 6, ignore that one. I think there's 4 or 6 that can only be those. And again, you're supposed to just choose one, and whichever one is the closest fit. I'm just going to be clicking around, just filling in stuff, just randomly. I'll fill in all the required fields, bear with me. Amount of referrals, I don't know why that's required. Anyway, ignore that. Okay, the problem types, again, you might want to use those, Lauren, the ones that I showed you, these ones here, Australian legal system, stuff like that. You might want to use those problem types. You would just click there to add your problem type and then search for them. You'll probably just search in there anyway. You just find them and select your problem type. Okay, there was other things I wanted to, now, number of persons accessing. I think this is one of the more interesting fields. So if you've had 500 people, obviously that's an exaggeration, but I'm just putting in something random. You might want to put that in there, so then you can count up how many people you've done these sessions for over the year or however long. Okay, number of activities delivered. So you could do a number of activities in one project service. The way my brain works is to probably create a new one for each project service. So I'm going to just click there to save that. And I've left that blank because it's just going to be one. Or I could put one in and then click save. Okay. So now we've created a project, and so that's going to be, this is our project here, and so that's going to be for the financial year, and it's for a certain thing. And now we've got a service that we've put inside there. So this might be the one that we did for July, and we can just write all of that up now. This is a really good little demonstration or whatever. I just tried to click in there so I could just put in July or something just to demonstrate. And oftentimes I try and do that and it doesn't work, and that's because it's in preview mode. So just click on design and then I can just go, this is the July session I did. Okay, all right. So now, excuse me, if you've set up, now this is just going to be an example. If you've set up a project service, so you've set up a project and then you put a service inside of it because you've scheduled in a session for next month or whenever, and you want to find that project service you've already set up so you can enter the data like the number of persons accessing and notes and all that. The way to find them would be to click on search project services, or you could come into projects, find the project and then click on the list of services, or you could just come straight into search project services and now you can find them in here and search on who they were modified by, assigned to. So I was pointing out the assigned to field earlier, so you could come in here and search on a name and just get all of the services that are assigned to you. If you do them all and you're assigning them all to yourself, obviously that's not going to work. So you might want to do something like the problem type or the service type or the open date or something like that, the last modified date, something like that. Anyway, that's another way to find project services. Now we've got these other two options here, My Projects and My Project Services. I'll just show them really quickly. Now, the problem here is that I can't show you anything inside of these. This is what they look like, but because my class account is a weird one, there's not going to be anything in here because I can't assign anything to myself. So if you assign projects or project services to yourself, they will they'll be listed in My Project Services and My Projects. Okay. All right. Actions, this is basically the same as services for individuals. I'll just go through this pretty quickly, really. So I've got a project service open here. So now we've got this other tab, actions, and you can upload documents and do audits as well. So I'll go through actions. If you wanted to create an action, I'm not sure why you would, but it's entirely possible you might want to. It might be, say you want to make a note of, as an example, a communication that you had with the person that who's managing the session at the other end. You could make a note of that and that will then be listed inside the project service so that you can then keep a record of all that stuff, or that's just one example. Now, actions are you can do kind of almost anything with actions. Kind of any of the work that you're doing can all be documented or recorded using actions. So if I come into the action type, there's a whole bunch of them. It could be a note, an activity. That could be one that's relevant to community projects. It might be an appointment. That could be relevant as well. A closing note, a communication. Now advice notes, that's going to be more relevant to services to individuals rather than this. A legal action, not entirely sure even what that is. I'm guessing probably not super relevant to community projects. Notes, reminders, or a lot of this stuff would actually be, that I'm just realizing, would actually be relevant to community projects. So if you want to use actions, do so, but whether you need to or not, I'd be guessing you probably don't need to, but you can if you would like to. You can assign these actions if you like. You can even set a supervisor, and you can even send reminders through class. I'll just go through how you do that really quickly. Okay, so I will assign this action to myself. Now, just pretend that this is my actual email. It's not, but I'll just click there. That's it. But I don't actually want to send myself an email. So I'll assign this to myself, and you can assign it to multiple people. I've assigned it to myself. I also want to assign it to, this has a fake email address, so no one will actually get an email, so that's good. All right, I'll assign it to that account as well. So now I've got this action assigned to 2 separate people. You can mark it completed if you wanted to, and critical as well. The templates, I recommend just leaving them as is, but you can work with them. Let us know if you would like to. I don't have time to go through all of that today. You will need to select a reminder date. If you don't have one, class won't send an email. So I'll set tomorrow as the date and then set a time. This is how this works. You have to set a time and then click on the date and then click OK, and it'll list it there for you. Now you could type that as well if you wanted to. Send calendar file, that'll send a little file. I think they're an ICO file, and then you can double click the file and it'll add it to your Outlook calendar. You might be able to use Google Calendars or others as well, I'm not sure. I don't use them if you want to. Okay, now I've got this, I've created an action, I've assigned it, and then I've entered a reminder date. Now, once I click save and close, and that date and time rolls around, class will fire off an email to the 2 email addresses associated with these 2 accounts. Okay, so if you want to send yourself reminders from class, use actions to do that. Okay, I hope that's enough on actions. Let me know if it's not. Copying services, quick and easy, couple of things to look out for. A lot of people say the same things about copying. I'll go through it really quickly. So I'll flick back to this project. So I've got a project here. No, this is the list of projects. This is the project here, and I'm already in the services tab. And I created this project service just a few minutes ago. So now what I can do is select the service and then click copy. It's going to ask me how sure I want to. Yes, I want to. So I'll click that and it'll create the new one. So the previous one was 55, this one's 56. So now there are a couple of things to look out for. So I'll click there to open this new service that I've copied. Now your open date is going to be deleted. There's a very good reason for that. It's done very much intentionally because you don't want to copy that across. It's probably not going to be the same open date. So this is the new service. So this might be next month's service. So I've got the next month's session set up for that date. So we delete that field intentionally. Your problem type will copy across, but you might want to keep an eye on that. Created by may not be the same person who's creating this service, who created the original service that we copied. So just maybe remember that you might need to change that. The assigned to, that might be deleted. I'm not entirely sure, but you may need to change that. I'm guessing probably not, but some of your other data might be deleted or it might be copied across, like these 500 attendees. You may need to change that. So those are the little things to look out for when copying services. I'm just going to click save and close. And that is going to have created a brand new service for me. So it's a little bit quicker, it's a little bit easier, but there are a couple of things to look out for there. Okay, reports, I'll show you this kind of quickly. Okay, so let me go from community to reports and accountability. And then I'll click on reports. That'll bring up the list of all of the reports in class, and most of these work with services for the community. But if I go into display name and go project, I probably don't even need the whole word, but when I search that, that'll bring up the list of reports that refer to community projects. Just bear with me. Hopefully that'll delete. That was a custom one that I made myself and then saved. So this should be the list that you see, these 6 reports. There's 1 standard, there's 2 drill downs and 4 DIYs. Now, the 1 standard is the project services by high level problem type. I don't know if that's going to be relevant for you, whether you're interested in that or whether anyone wants you to report that data. This one is projects by law type. Project services are the number of them by the problem. So again, not sure if any of these are really relevant. So the 2 reports here that could be really relevant to you are the DIY project service and the DIY project service action. Now, I'll go through the naming convention just in case anyone isn't aware of it. The naming convention for the DIY reports will be that they'll all start with DIY to mark them as a DIY report, and then there'll be a couple of words or a few words that tell you where the data comes from. So this one is project, so all of the fields on the project screen are available in that report. And it's also got project service. So all of the fields on the project service screen, they're also available in that report. So I might just open that one to show you what it looks like and what you can do with it, but I'll do this really quickly. This is not a session on reports. So if you do want more training on reports, we've got a whole session that covers, we've actually got 3 separate sessions that covers reports. So you can get all of that training if you want. We will even do sessions specifically for you if you ask for them. So for this report, I'm probably going to do something like add in project service, and bear with me, I know this is a really kind of quick demonstration, but I'm going to get the ID of the service, and then I might get the service type or something. I don't know if this is going to be relevant. I did one of these last week and I've already forgotten what was relevant. Oh, I know. Now, all right, this is going to be interesting. I'm going to go persons, search for persons. So here we've got the project service, number of persons accessing CLE. All right, so the number of persons accessing, someone did say that this is some data that they do need to report. So I'm just really quickly going to throw in a date range that will do, and then some funding categories. Okay. All right, I'm just going to load that report and show you what they look like and the kind of data you can get. So you get this. Now, some people say, well, it doesn't give us totals. It'd be great if it would just add up those totals, but it can't. So you would still have to get your calculator out and add them up, unfortunately. But this is, I know it's a really, really quick demonstration of what the reports for community projects can do. But again, if you would like any more help with them, please do let us know. Okay, we've almost done half an hour, so I think there's maybe a couple more things I want to do. Finding documentation and getting help. I would like to go over some of these other tabs. So I'll click back to this project service. So we've got the critical dates. So those essentially they're actions, and they'll just be listed in there if there are any. And that action that I listed is in there. So if you want the list of actions without the ones that are not critical dates, you can find them in there. If you don't even know what I'm talking about, that's fine. Just ignore it. The documents, you could upload documents to a project service or even a project if you wanted to. Now, documents is not ideal in class, but I'll show you what you can do really quickly. I'll click on new because there's no documents in there. I'll click on browse and find something that's not too sensitive. That image will do. There we go. Hopefully no one saw whatever else was in there. Now what I can do, I can't change the file name. So you would change the file name before uploading it if you wanted to change the file name, but I can change the title. Okay. That'll do. Now I don't have to, but I can choose the document type and enter a description if I wanted to. There might be ID documents. You can enter general documents if you want. If this is not really relevant, you can leave it blank. You can add a description to it if you want, or leave it blank if you like. I'll click Save and Close, and that's going to upload the document to class. So I didn't enter a document type and I didn't enter a description, so those are both blank. And there's the changed title. So if I wanted to, I could click on that and that'll give me all this stuff, and I could then change like the title again if I wanted to. I'll just close that. I don't know why you would do that. Now, what we'd really like to be possible would be that you could then just open this document and work on it in class, but it doesn't work like that, unfortunately. So what you could do is download the document. If you click there, that'll download the document. Then you would work on it and then maybe delete this one and then re-upload the new copy. The other thing you can do is get a link. You could click there to get a link to the document, and then you can copy that link, paste it to You could paste it to an action and then send it as a note in an action to someone, and then have class email someone at the designated time and date that you choose, which could be 5 minutes into the future. Or you could just put it into an email or a Teams message or whatever you use. Unfortunately, we know that's not ideal, but you can upload documents to both projects and project services. You can also do an audit. This will just give you information about what happened. This is the project service we're in, and this is the audit trail for it. If I just click here, this will tell me that I changed the title, and basically it's saying that I uploaded a document, a file. So anyway, that's just a record of what happened to all your stuff if you would like to use that. Okay. I might now dive onto how you find the documentation, which I've kind of already done, and getting help if you need help with class, with community projects in class. So this is the class documentation. Again, you can get it straight through class using that little question mark and a circle button, or just come straight through to clcs.org.au. And then under resources, you've got class, that's the class documentation. And then inside the user manual, you've got services for the community. So that's where all the documentation for community projects lives. And I'm always telling people, if you're trying to find stuff in our documentation and you can't find it, you just send us an email to the help desk really quick. It'll take you 30 seconds to fire off an email. And just say to us, can you send me the link to this documentation because I can't find it, because I've been working with this stuff for 3 years and sometimes still struggle to find stuff. There's so much in there. Anyway, how you get help and support, it will be right there under help and support, which I hope makes sense. Anyway, I'll click on that and there's basically 3 ways to contact the help desk, the class help desk. You can email us here at icthelp at clcs.org.au. That'll come through to the class help desk and you'll get a reply. We've got the class portal, which I'll open like that. Now you can use the portal to keep track of all your inquiries in one place rather than digging through email threads if you don't particularly enjoy doing that. I know I don't. Anyway, this is what the class portal looks like. Now, all your requests will live up there in the top right. I'd click on there, but there's none in there because I don't actually have any requests open with the class help desk. If you wanted to set up one, you would go, it's in class, it might be about LexisNexis, the NAS portal, or something else. If it's to do with class, it might be about, won't be that, doubt it'll be that, an incident maybe, reporting request, it could be that, yeah, maybe that, a request for more training, or maybe it's just a clarification that you would like us to just send back to you, email to you, or send it through on the portal if you want, and you can just put your question in there and hit create, and that will create a help desk request for you on our help desk. The other way is the phone number. So if I scroll down, we've got the phone number here. Now, because we're working from home so often, using phones is a lot different to what it was a couple of years ago. So if you don't get an answer, if you're calling in and no one answers, please do leave a voicemail. We do listen to them all and we will call you back if you leave your name and number. Okay, well, I'm already 5 minutes over, so I might say thanks, hope this helps. Again, if you do want more training, please let us know. If that hasn't covered everything, let us know and we will we'll get you whatever help you need with class, community projects, or anything else. Yeah, thanks again. Hope this did help, and bye for now from CLCs Australia.